It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Chubamenla Jamir, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Natural and Applied Sciences, TERI School of Advanced Studies. She has been extensively working in the area of food security, climate change, and air pollution. She has served as a core faculty at Global Center for Food Systems Innovation, USAID, from 2013 to 2015, and she has been the manager for the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network South Asia Regional Center from 2015. Currently, also, she's involved in another UNEP project that we are doing, where she's looking at the component of from farm to fork. She has extensive experience in terms of food security and sustainable food management. And she's also done a program on Green on My Plate, and that is exclusively focusing on higher education institutions and schools. So, Chuba, thank you so much for taking out time to join us. I know it's very, very cold in Delhi, and despite that, we are all up and about. So thanks a lot. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, Chuba, you are. We can see you and we can hear you well.
I'm just going to turn off my video because some problem is happening with my laptop, because of which I cannot turn on. So I've just joined through my mobile. Just
Perfect.
to video. So I'm just going to turn it off and leave. Yeah, my video is, yeah. So, and let me also try to share the screen. So thank you very much, Dr. Fauzia, for inviting me, and also for the very kind introduction. It's always a pleasure to be talking about food, and also, of course, more importantly, with especially with the young people. And I can see that there are a number of young people attending this program. Let me just share the screen first. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Chuba, we can see the screen now.
These pictures I've just taken randomly from Google Images. So I've not put the source, but it's from Google Images. So I will discuss a little bit about sustainable food options in canteen. I'm not going to give lots of data or very detailed technical discussions. The way I've planned is just discuss a few points that will make you start thinking about how you can make your canteens sustainable. What exactly is sustainable food? We talk about food, we talk about healthy food, we talk about nutritious food all the time. I mean, these are all things that we are familiar with. It's something not like something different, but something that we experience on a day-to-day basis in terms of food. So we are in some way or the other familiar with food. But again, food, what is sustainable, what is healthy, differs from person to person. It also differs from region to region, and also under different contexts, because of which there is a plurality of notions about what is healthy food or what is good food, and more so in terms of what is sustainable food, because sustainability itself, the word sustainability itself, is very normative in nature, and therefore different people may have a different understanding about what sustainability is. So let me just start with defining the healthy diet, and I've taken this image directly from the Eat Lancet Commission report, which was released in the year 2019. This report was released globally as well as also in different countries. So even in India also, this report was released by the FSSAI in 2019 itself. And it's also very much linked to the Eat Right campaign that the government of India is doing through FSSAI. So it defines what healthy diet is, yeah, and it defines healthy diet as something that should optimize health, defined broadly as being state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. Yeah. So here, the healthy diet is not only about from physical point of view, not only in terms of ensuring that the food that you're taking is has all the nutrients that you require or it has sufficient energy, or in terms of calories that is required for your healthy physical functioning, but also good for your cognitive well-being. As well as also it should be social, for social well-being as well. It should be socially and culturally acceptable to you. So, for example, fish protein maybe, or fish oil is considered as very nutritious, but you cannot say that is good food or healthy food for somebody who is coming from a purely vegetarian background, or somebody who may not be coming from a vegetarian background, but somebody who is having some sort of allergy towards it, or intolerance for certain micronutrients that may be present in fish. Or likewise the same thing for milk. Milk, we now see, especially in the younger generation, we see a lot of presence of a lot of lactose intolerance. You see, so in that case, even if we know that milk and milk products could be nutritious for most people, but then not necessarily. So what is healthy, what is not healthy, it varies from person to person. And so here, a healthy diet, as per the 8th Lancet report, is something where they are not saying that you should not have non-vegetarian component in it, you should not have milk component, you should have only plants. It's not talking about that, but it's talking about a diet which is rich in plant, a plant-rich diet. So the plate that you eat, the proportion of plant resources should be really high. Yeah, so it talks about that. Now moving ahead and looking at what is sustainable food, then what is it that is sustainable? We know that we've heard, I mean this over the past 10-15 years, actually, in everywhere we keep hearing about the word sustainability. And when we discuss about the, or try to define sustainability, we look at not just the environmental aspects, but also the economy as well as the social aspects. So it has to be from all being. So for food point of view, also a sustainable food should be something that is obviously healthy. So it defines, it is something that fits the definition of what a healthy diet is. But at the same time, it should also be good for the environment, or sustainable for the environment. So I've taken this paragraph, a pie chart, not paragraph, pie chart from the 8th Lancet report again, and it kind of gives a very good description of what it is, what sustainable food is. Yeah. So see, now what we see is, most of the food items that we get are, not healthy. Yeah, we don't see so much of healthy choices. Even if we buy only fruits and vegetables, the chances of these fruits and vegetables being contaminated with chemical pesticides and other synthetic chemicals which are harmful to our health, as well as also contamination, biological contamination, that risk is really high, you see. So just because we are consuming fruits or vegetables in large quantities doesn't mean that the food is safe. So there is also that safety aspect. So one aspect is the nutritional value of the food, the other aspect is safety aspect. So most of the time, the food that we get, even if it's fresh food, there are all these risks associated with it. And then we have a huge variety of processed food, ultra processed food. Processed food it's not that all processed food are bad, it is good, but at the same time there are these ultra processed food which consumption in large quantities may not be the best thing for our health, you see. So and we have a variety of choices, especially for those of us who are living in urban areas and bigger urban areas like Delhi, Mumbai. Everywhere we go, the chances of coming across a food shop that sells ultra processed food is much more than a food shop that will give you, whole foods. So the current scenario is that we have food that is unhealthy. This is showing unhealthy. And then it is also not sustainably produced. Those are produced using very unsustainable agricultural practices. And it's not just that. After harvest also, even the post-harvest processing, and packaging and food that has traveled several miles. So there's a lot of unsustainability, environmental unsustainability attached to it. So most of them are in what we call as lose-lose scenario, where it is unhealthy for the human health and at the same time it is unsustainable for the environment. And we also see certain food types that are available where we see, for example, loose win, where it's in this case, then it's unhealthy and healthy for the environment. Yeah. So it could be where certain food that is produced, maybe it is environmentally sound, produced in an environmentally sound way, but then if that food is not healthy for us, or if that food we are not in the process of producing in an environmentally sustainable way, if we are not able to produce sufficient amount of food to meet our demand, that in itself is not good. So ideally what we want is a win-win scenario where the food that we produce is produced in a very sustainable way, and it is not only the production or in terms of producing from agriculture, or if you're talking about fish, for example, catching in a sustainable way. It's not only about healthy, but it also should be sustainable. Yeah, so it should be a win-win scenario. That's what we're looking at. So when we say sustainable food, we are, it's a little bit different from healthy food. It encompasses both healthy food as well as also one that is sustainable for the environment from farm to fork. Now coming to the canteens, and for young people especially, and it is now current pattern, what we see is, our lifestyle and dietary pattern has a huge influence on our our health. Okay, and there are several research papers that have demonstrated that the current lifestyle and the dietary pattern is responsible for a number of non-communicable diseases like obesity, diabetes, high cholesterol and cardiovascular diseases. And there are now several research that has documented how this is also a huge problem even in children as well, that the lifestyle pattern, the dietary pattern, all of these is responsible for high blood pressure in children, obesity, overweight, all of these leading to, again, high cholesterol and other issues related to which are usually categorized as non-communicable diseases or lifestyle diseases. In fact, in India, a comprehensive national nutrition reports, survey report in 2016-17 showed that amongst the children aged 10 to 19 years, of course 14, 15 plus is not children, but it's anyways, we can call it as young people, then we see that the 4.9% boys were either overweight or obese, and 4.7% were either girls were overweight or obese. So and the trend is increasing. Statistics shows that the trend is increasing, and in fact, this report also goes on to show that the number of the percentage of children who are overweight or obese the percentage is much higher in urban areas as compared to rural areas, and also much more amongst the rich than amongst the poor children. Okay, so and all of these has a huge impact on the physical and cognitive development and for children. And so in long term also, it's going to be huge issues if we are not able to give proper nutrition to the children. Then in future, then there will be issues in terms of their performance. So if we look at the poor and the rich also, what we see is they are both in the poor as well as in the rich. What we see is issues of food insecurity, where we are not taking sufficient quantities that meets our requirement for a healthy body, for physical health as well as for cognitive health. And so that issue of food insecurity is very much visible, very much there in the poor households as well as in the richer households, especially in the developing countries. That's what we see. But the problem is a little bit different. Even though it's related to food, the problem that we see is in the poor households or lower income households, there are issues of undernutrition. Yeah. Whereas in the higher income households, the issue is not about undernutrition. They have sufficient food to eat. They can eat all sorts of food that they want. But the problem here is in terms of overnutrition. Yeah. And also consumption of too much of macronutrients. So, calorie dense food containing carbohydrates, fats, sugars, all of these provides the dietary, calorie requirement for this. Now, in this context, for young people, especially schools and colleges are very important, because school and college is where children or young people, students, so to say, spend much of their daytime in and around there. And therefore, canteens also play a very important role from the food point of view. And therefore, if we have a good food environment in and around the schools and colleges, then it is going to play a very critical role in shaping the overall development of students, of children as well as young people. So because that's going to have a huge impact on their eating behavior. Yeah. So there are many reports and studies that have conducted to see what type of food is being offered in school and college campuses, and also in and around the campuses. And what we see is that they're slowly over the time, we are seeing, especially in urban areas, an emergence of food stalls, informal sector and informal food stalls that sells very unhealthy food, and they are cheap, and therefore the students tend to you go and consume this food, and therefore canteens plays a very important. In India, we see various interventions have been implemented to combat or to address the issue of malnutrition, as well as also the issue of overweight and obesity, because this is becoming a huge challenge. And therefore, we see a number of programs that are being implemented to bring about awareness, to bring about behavioral change, and so forth. But then one thing which is not so much popular is in terms of the food environment in educational institutes in India. And food environment in educational institutes, if we can change that, if we can bring about changes in that, or bring about sustainability in this, then it will have huge impact, not only for the time when the child is at school or college, but also post, even long after they leave, because that's the developmental phase, and developmental phase is very important. Proper nutrition during developmental phase. And talking about that, statistics shows, and this is not only for India but globally also, food wastage is a huge problem. Okay, and food is wasted at farm, food is wasted at the consumer level also, and food is wasted all along the food supply chain. So we see food wastage, on an average, it shows a third of the food that is produced goes waste. And this is not only for agricultural crops, even in fisheries also, roughly the numbers are like that. And whether it's developed or developing countries, food wastage is also a problem. And tomorrow you also have a food, I think the waste management aspect. So we'll discuss, I'm sure you're going to discuss that more in tomorrow's session. But here, what's surprising is that it shows that educational institutes are actually one of the key, sectors that, waste a large amount of, or generates a large amount of food waste. Yeah. So when we look at the food waste, then food waste is based on individual choices and preferences. So if we are able to manage, if we are able to influence the individual choices and preferences, then we will be able to reduce the food waste. Yeah. And because food waste then has serious environmental implications as well as economic implications. And so in terms of school canteens, or even not only school canteens but college canteens, institutional canteens in the educational institutes, we can play a very important role in reducing the food wastage. And that is by education and awareness campaigns, yeah, at different level. It can be as part of small exercises within the school or within the classroom, or it can be in terms of some training programs or some guidelines and regulations on do's and don'ts in the the food environment in and around the university. So all of these can really help in playing an important role and in reducing the food wastage. And of course, that all can contribute towards sustainable food system, which will then eventually lead to the outcomes will be in terms of health, good health and well-being, and also environmental sustainability. So let's look at the food environment for the students and where all how do we look at it? What are the different dimensions of food environment for students? Yeah. So we look at all these things that we are looking at and we're discussing about, and whatever initiatives we have to do, that is ultimately the ultimate goal is for ensuring food security for the young people. Why we should go for sustainable food canteens. That is again to ensure that young people are food secure. Yeah. So we can look at the food security for young people, for students in 3 dimensions: availability, accessibility, and utilization. Yeah. So availability aspect is, what type of food is available. And if you look at the current status, in canteens, usually there are more number of unhealthier food options. And in fact, outside the campuses and outside schools, we see several food vendors which sells not so healthy food options. They may be cheap, and attractive, but then they are not so healthy. So availability aspect is very important, and it's very important that for us to ensure that the food that is available for the students are healthy, because that's the starting point, you see. So whether it is in the canteen or outside near the school or the university, it's very important for us, because even if we put so much of effort in improving the food status in the inside the campus, but in the surrounding area, if we don't do anything, then that impact would not be that much. And then the other aspect is access. You see, what happens is that anywhere, and this is not only in canteens, but also anywhere, wherever you go, the healthier food options are much having higher price, you see, and then that becomes an issue of affordability. And so we normally tend to go for the cheaper food options, and especially for young people, because when their pocket money is limited, the choice is to go for the cheaper option, and then what is nutritious, what is not nutritious may become then secondary in that case. So it's important. So that is one issue, one of the biggest challenges that we face, that where we see healthier options which are higher price. So affordability becomes one of the biggest challenges for young people opting for healthier options. And then the third dimension is utilization. That's where we see several unhealthy food advertised, unhealthy food advertisement everywhere, and in and around schools and colleges also we see those, ultra processed food, more advertisements of ultra processed food that may look more attractive to young people. Yeah. And also maybe that might be more convenient to consume as well. Yeah. So very, very few number of healthy food advertisements you will find in most places. And the other problem is also the peer pressure and the culture, the popular culture that is there. I'm not talking about traditional culture here, but I'm talking about popular culture. So these have huge influence on what young people consume. And therefore, if we have to bring about some interventions, we have to bring about interventions in all these dimensions in order to ensure that the campus foods are sustainable, or the campus food culture. Let me just put it as campus food culture, because that includes food that is consumed even outside the campus, also in the periphery, in and around the campus, right? So that the campus food culture is sustainable. Now, in this context, one thing we have to keep in mind, when we talk about what is healthy food, what is not, or what is sustainable food and what is not sustainable food, is the health halo effect. Okay, the green halo. See, we conceptualized our our world or the things in front of us using mental shortcuts. Okay, we are so familiar with this, we are so used to using shortcuts in every aspect of our life most of the time, until and unless we consciously take the longer way, we are used to that. So as we conceptualize the world around us using mental shortcuts, our effort is to make quicker and more efficient decisions. And the same thing happens with our food itself. Okay, so when we decide to choose a food, even if we are thinking of healthy, that we want to go for healthy food, we might just take one criteria for defining whether the food is healthy or not. Okay, and many a times the companies use this, which is known as the green halo or the health halo effect. Okay, so the health halo effect is the act of overestimating how that's a typo over here, how healthy an item is based on a single claim. Yeah, so and single claim. So for example, here, this is a stem. I've just taken it off internet anyways. So it is, so here again, made with all natural ingredients, and it's very common for us to see this, these type of food items labeled in this way, all natural. Yeah, and that sounds really good. And so the moment we see all natural, okay, there's nothing synthetic, and that's nothing wrong, because if there's nothing synthetic in it, everything is natural. So that's good. That's one of the good characteristics of a of a healthy and sustainable food. But the only problem is that's not the only criteria that makes food sustainable. You see, there are many other criteria that are there we have to consider. So, many a times good PR misleads shoppers. Things like 100% organic certified. You see, 100% organic certified, it's fantastic organic food. So, and they may be true, there may be actually proper organic food, 100% organic. But the thing is that they don't talk about how much fats is there, how much salt is there, they don't talk about maybe the nutrients that are there, and so that becomes a problem. And many a times when we look at all these all natural food, all organic food, we also have this tendency of over consuming, thinking that okay, it's safe, it's all natural, so we don't worry about the other aspects, right? Even this also, I have removed the label, the brand label here, but we see these type, right? Fitness fruits. Now these are concentrated, desiccated fruits that are there. So there's going to be obviously a lot of difference between this and the fresh fruits that we consume, you see. But then the fact that fruits itself, it's a very catchy thing. And when you think about fruits, then the word healthy comes to our mind, so many a times, often then we may just go for and choose these things without thinking, so without considering the nutritional value, without considering the calories, or or the salts and other things in it. Many a times we see all natural, no synthetic preservatives, only natural preservatives, you see. But what does it mean? Fats, sugar, salt, these are all natural, and these are all used as natural preservatives. So if so it doesn't talk about that there are many lots of fats in it, or there too much of salt in it, or sugar, but then it's natural, natural preservative. So that looks very attractive to us, and we immediately choose that, you see. So coming back to the canteens, best college canteen, and I just, while I was preparing for this, I just tried put this word best college canteen on Google images, and then a lot of images popped up, and it was very interesting to see. You see here, this was I've just taken the screenshot, and 20 best college canteens all over India. But I was shocked to see, then you have ultra processed food over here. And then another one here, this was also a top 10 college canteen ranking by a well-established media in India. And you see, I have removed the college name here, so you won't see. But then again, you see a lot of ultra-processed food being, subjected. It's very clean. It's wonderful canteen, cafeteria for a college canteen. I must appreciate it. But at the same time, we are also seeing, advertisement of a lot of ultra-processed food. So the question is it sustainable? Is it good? Do we need to go for this? Can we call these canteens the best canteen? How do we define what is the best canteen? Canteen is for serving food, of course, but then what is our benchmark? What is our criteria for identifying what is good and what is bad? Because if we have to improve canteen, then we need to have some benchmarks. So what are the benchmarks that we're keeping in mind? Are we keeping cleanliness and, you know, state-of-the-art equipments and other things, or are we looking at the sustainable food aspect? So the question is, how do we make canteens, more sustainable? So there are various ways, and I'll just show 4 ways in which we can make it more sustainable. One is the dining service. Okay, the food itself, what we get. Procurement, menu, kitchen operations. So procurement, for example, where you're procuring from, even that will also, make a huge impact on ensuring that it's sustainable. You see, if you're procuring locally, locally produced food, or if you're only procuring seasonal food, then that can also have a huge impact from environmental sustainability point of view. And it's not only from environmental sustainability. See, when you consume seasonal food, nutritional value is also much more. And also because the fact that they're seasonal, they didn't, it is not grown under controlled environment. And therefore, the chances of preservatives being used, or the chances of, synthetic additives being used in producing that food is minimal. And in that way, then it can also be much healthier. So menu can be changed. Kitchen operations, the way you operate, that can also be changed. One way we can make canteens more sustainable is also waste management, reducing waste, smaller portions. In many universities across the world, there has been several studies that have been, conducted to see what are the ways in which we can reduce food wastage. And in many places, what they found was that when you remove the tray, when you don't give the food tray, but you just let the students carry the plate in their hand without the tray, then they are able to reduce a large amount of wastage in that case. Okay. But then as simple as waste segregation, or even setting up a composting unit, all of these can have huge impact. Other way, as academic institutions, one way we can really improve in terms of influence food choices, influence the waste, and how we look at food is by academic research and co-curricular programs like courses or specializations or internships or some training activities. All of these also can be done. And the 4th aspect on how we can make canteens more sustainable is we can set up kitchen gardens. Many schools in and around Delhi, I know that there are, especially the government schools, are setting up kitchen gardens. Yeah, even the Delhi government also had some programs in a few years back, I'm aware of. I don't know about now, but then even in colleges also, if they set up herb gardens or kitchen garden, they were giving some guidance on how to do that, and and other form of support the Delhi government was giving. So we can have campus farms or community gardens, or even partnership with local producers, for procuring the food. So these are different ways in which we can make canteens more sustainable. Dr. Fozia mentioned about the Green on My Plate program that I had organized. So we did a series of Green on My Plate initiatives, especially targeted at the school children, but also one of our focus area was partnership. Okay, so we tied up with different culinary experts, chefs, and other people, and we conducted. So I've just taken a screenshot from one of the report. If anybody wants, you can always email me or Dr. Fozia, and we can share this report with all of you. So this is one of the launch event that we did in the year 2019. This was on the occasion of World Earth Day. So we had one day we had, young people, making sustainable dishes also, sustainable food, not just healthy food, but sustainable food. And we also had young people mapping sustainable food history and so forth. So there were a lot of activities. Chefs had come, various food experts had also come for these events. And this was very interesting for us, because we actually saw that, we don't have to actually kind of tell what is sustainable and what is not sustainable. Young people know about it. Teachers know about it. We also had a special, on this day, we also had a special session for teachers where school teachers also, had a competition of making sustainable food. And the amazing recipes they came up with, very tasty, very sustainable also, and health-wise also quite healthy, So we can also, I've just put this as an example that how we can, as academic institutions, we can do all these activities, awareness programs that can help us in creating awareness and instilling a culture of sustainable dietary habits amongst the young people, by encouraging them to introspect about the food choices. And also these type of events can help them in becoming local trendsetters, because that in young people, peer pressure is very important, plays a very important role. So we need to start a culture of healthy food habits amongst young people, rather than telling them this is healthy and this is not healthy, and so forth. I think it should come from themselves and we should encourage them. The FSSI, so this is awareness, popular culture and trend setting, peer learning and inculcating habits, mentoring, partnership. All of these can be incorporated to make campuses more sustainable. So the next one is FSSI, which I mentioned about, the Eat Right campaign by the government of India through the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, right? So they have Eat Right in office, Eat Right in school and various other things. So this is the Eat Right campus campaign. So I have just taken a screenshot of the website here, and they give, create ratings to campuses. So any school, campus, university, campus can apply for getting a rating. So it's the maximum is a 5-star rating, and the rating they do based on these 4 aspects. Okay, safe food, healthy food, sustainable food, and building awareness. So these are the 4 dimensions that they are doing it. So if you go to that website, you will see, examples of sustainable, campuses that are there. So one of them is, and one of the first one to get this 5-star is the IIT Gandhinagar. So I've just taken this photo from the website. So again, in their case also, 4 dimensions. They is healthy diets and compliance to food safety norms, promotion of local and seasonal food on campus, food waste management, and promotion and awareness of food safety and healthy diets in and around campus. Yeah, so this is an example. Other examples are there. We see examples from around the world. For example, McGill University in Montreal, Quebec. This university spends 47% of its food budget on produce from its own campus farm, and also from growers within 300 miles of the campus. Okay, so local. And another example is University of Wisconsin, Madison, where they have partnered with approximately 40 local growers and food distributors to serve meals to 7,000 undergraduates living in its residential housing, in the campus. So these are ways, there's nothing like ultimate sustainable canteen, but it's like small steps that we take, and wherever possible, what we can take, it's important, right? So for example, when we go to a vegetable market or so I've just put again images from the Google, but which vegetable is cheaper if you go to a vegetable market? So that's a question. Can anybody just unmute and answer this? Anyone from the audience can unmute. Whenever you go to a vegetable market, anybody, most of us may have gone at some point to a vegetable market. So which are the vegetables that are cheaper?
Usually potatoes, tomatoes, onions.
Potatoes, tomatoes, onion, okay.
Spinach.
Spinach, okay.
I think seasonal vegetables are more
It
cheap.
depends sometimes on seasonal variation.
Absolutely, seasonal variation. So sometimes you will see potatoes, lower than 10 rupees. Sometimes you will see 50, 60 rupees also. Spinach also, sometimes you will see cheap price. So it's all seasonal. And if you go to a local market, most of the time we get it even cheaper also, right? At least in India. I'm talking about from Indian context. Yeah. See, seasonal and local food, usually, if it's seasonal, it is usually cheaper. the vegetable price. And if it's local, local varieties of vegetables or fruits or locally grown, then they are also a lot cheaper than if it has been harvested, grown somewhere else and brought from somewhere else. But one thing you have to know is also, if it's seasonal, then the nutritional value is also much more, in the seasonal. And if it's local, again, because see, the moment the food gets harvested, the nutritional value starts getting deteriorated slowly. Okay, so as time proceeds, although it depends on crop to crop, so some crops, the nutritional value degrades much faster than the others, but whatever it is, it starts degrading. Various methods are used, preservatives and different other methods are used to retain that, retain the shelf life of the fruits and vegetables, because fruits and vegetables are highly perishable. Okay. However, seasonal and local foods are much more. And this is the same thing if you go to a grocery shop also, which food items are cheaper. Most of the time, it's like, I'm just talking about in general, it's the local food that may be more, that might be cheaper. Okay. So for example, flaxseed. These days people say superfood and flaxseed. Now, flaxseed, if you go to a fancy food shop or a health store these days, in the past 10 years or so, especially in the bigger cities, we see an emergence of the so-called health stores. Okay. And then you will find definitely flaxseed in some form or the other. So if you buy from there, it's very expensive. But then if you go to a local kirana shop, at least in North India, we see flaxseed being sold, in a local way. It may not have any fancy packaging or no packaging at all. And it is not sold as flaxseed, but it's sold as something else. Can anyone tell me what it is sold as? Anyone from North India? Do you all know what is flaxseed called in Hindi?
Emulsi.
Yes, absolutely, Naman. Spot on. Alsi. And when it's sold as alsi, it's usually cheaper. You see, so marketing is very important. And anyways, so, you see, actually, at least in Indian context, we can say that, sustainable food can be healthier and cheaper also. It's not that, because otherwise in the market, what we see is the so-called healthy food, all natural food, organic, this and that. These are much more expensive than the other food. But actually, if you really look into it, sustainable food can be healthier and also can be cheaper. Okay. Now, because we are talking about educational institutes, we are talking about colleges and schools, canteens and colleges and schools. And therefore, it's important for us also to look at a national education policy. So if you look at the National Education Policy 2020, I've just copied and pasted, so the link is from here. So I just copied and posted some text from there. The first text, the first paragraph in the introduction is this one, that education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. And in all these aspects, it is not only about the knowledge and skill sets that you get from the curriculum, but outside of the curriculum, the extracurricular activities also are very important in shaping young people. And ultimately, in the long term, the impacts will be in promoting national development. And in that context, food and the food environment also plays a very important role. So if educational institutes are able to give are able to provide a sustainable food environment for the students, then it can also play a very important role in their mental and physical development. And ultimately, it will have huge impact on the national development as well. There are various other things. For example, in section 9.1, it talks about higher education plays an extremely important role in promoting human as well as societal well-being, and in developing India as envisioned in its constitution, a democratic, just, socially conscious, cultured, and human nation, upholding liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice for all. And then it goes on to say that higher education significantly contributes towards sustainable livelihoods and economic development of the nation. And so as India moves towards becoming a knowledge economy and society, more and more young Indians are likely to aspire for higher education. And in that case, it's very important that higher education also, provides not just an excellent curriculum, but also an excellent and sustainable environment, for their holistic development and holistic well-being. And in that context, food, of course, is a very, very important aspect for this holistic development. So let me not go beyond this. Let me stop here, but stop with a question. So instead of me putting some concluding points, I've decided to do it the other way around and ask all of you some concluding points. Okay, so as a concluding point, we will run through a Mentimeter. I'm going to share this question. You can answer this. I'm going to put it on the chat, so you can click on this link and please share 3 things that you can do to make your canteen more sustainable. And let's see the responses.
So these are really very good points. Chuba, you have large number of things that you can see on your screen.
Yes, yeah. So I think it's quite interesting, and I mean, there are so many inputs, and I think these are all really good points.